Okay, so we're diving into some seriously creepy stuff today.
Things are getting a little spooky.
Real life thunderstorm stories from Mr.
we asked you to send us some truly terrifying tales,
and even though spring is almost
you guys
here,
always come through.
Yeah,
these
seriously,
stories are
tons of
perfect
creepy
for, like, when you're
stories,
curled
all
up
from the
inside
Mr.
and it's
Nightmare
storming
YouTube
out,
channel.
and you just want to feel safe
and all
and cozy,
supposedly
you know what I mean?
true.
Oh yeah, those are
We're
always
gonna
the best.
explore
Totally,
three
and we're gonna
stories that might
unpack
just make you
10
think
of them,
twice
try to figure out what
next
makes
time
them
you hear
tick, what
I
gives us
love
those
it.
chills.
So what's so fascinating
Let's
to me
get
about
spooky.
these is how
Okay,
they
well,
show
first it's
how
interesting because these aren't just like campfire
play on our
stories, right?
fears
These are
and our
real
instincts.
people
Absolutely.
sharing
I
experiences.
mean, it's like they
that
tap into something
genuinely scared
primal.
them.
You know,
Totally.
it's different, isn't it?
And I'm really
Real
curious
stories, I
about the
think they hit
psychology
differently.
behind all of this.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
when
When
you
you
think it
notice
could happen
how
to
when
you,
there's a
the
thunderstorm,
fear
you
just
feel,
gets so
like,
real.
more vulnerable, more
And one thing
aware
that
of
kept
what's
coming up in
around
the
you.
stories
for
you sent.
sure.
Well, we're
This
going to see
theme
exactly
of
how
the
that plays out
unseen
in these
intruder.
stories.
Oh
Can't
yeah,
wait.
classic.
Like
Our
that
first
lurking
story is about this
presence,
13-year-old kid
someone or
home alone
something
for the
just
first
out
time.
of sight.
Yeah,
you know,
that
just
taps
chilling,
into something
playing video
primal,
games
doesn't
while
it?
there's
Like
a
that
huge
idea that we're
thunderstorm
never really
outside.
alone.
Okay,
classic.
Right.
Yeah,
Even
like
in
the perfect
spaces
setting,
we
right?
think
Yeah,
are
totally.
safe. So he's
It's
totally
creepy.
engrossed
Like,
in
Black
Remember that
Ops, he
story
doesn't
with the
even
woman
notice
who kept
anything.
hearing,
Yeah.
and then all of a
Splashing
sudden
in
the
her
doorbell
backyard
rings.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
And as soon as
Yeah,
she
and of
turned
course
on the
he
light,
looks, but he
the
doesn't
splashing
answer.
stopped.
And then it
It's
rings
like whatever
again.
was
Yeah,
out there knew
typical.
it was
But then
being
things get
watched.
really
Spooky.
creepy.
Super
He
spooky.
hears the
And
back
then
door
it gets
closing,
worse because
and he
later that
sees this
night
tall
she hears
man just
breathing
walking
outside
into the
her
house.
window.
Oh my god.
I
And then
know,
this
right?
deep
Talk about a
voice
fight or
whispers,
flight response kicking in.
Seriously, your heart would be
So
racing.
creepy. I mean, talk
Totally.
about a fear
And
of
to
the
make
dark
things
coming
worse,
to
he
life.
has
I know,
no
right? And that
idea who this
detail,
guy
the
is. It's a
ICU,
total stranger.
it just makes
No.
it so
He
much
freaks
worse,
out,
so much
runs to the
creepier.
office,
I know, it
slams
goes
the
from
door
being
shut,
watched
and the man
to, like,
immediately
being
starts
known
trying to
by
break
this
in,
thing, this
yelling for him to
presence.
open up.
Right.
Oh,
It's not
geez.
just observing
That's
you, it's
terrifying.
targeting
Right,
you.
it's like
Makes you
pure
wonder.
adrenaline
Right.
taking over.
What does it
Thankfully, he
want?
manages
What's it
to
gonna do
escape
next?
through the garage
Like, is
and
it
run
just
to a
watching,
neighbor's
or is it
house.
something
Thank
way more
goodness.
sinister?
I know,
Ooh,
right?
I like
So he
that.
calls the
And
police.
it's interesting
they
because
show
that whole
up, and they
thing, not
arrest the
knowing what's
intruder.
out there,
Wow. So they caught the
connects to
guy.
another
Yeah,
story.
his name was
the one
John
with those
McCarty.
muffled
Dan
cries
McCarty.
for help.
Okay.
Oh,
And it
from the
turns
parked
out he was
cars.
either drunk
Yeah,
or
imagine
high
walking
and
alone
thought
at
the
night,
house was
and you
his.
Oh,
hear
wow.
that, but
So
you can't even
delusional.
tell if it's an
Yeah,
adult
he was
or a
convinced the boy
child.
was his son.
Pure
Oh,
terror.
that is
It's the
so
not
creepy.
knowing
I
that
know,
really
right?
gets you.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder,
Like
like,
your
how
brain
do you
just
even
fills in the
reason with
blanks
someone
with
like that?
You
the
can't. I
worst
mean, they're
possible
completely
scenario.
disconnected
so
from
right.
reality.
Yeah.
And
It's
that
seriously
detail,
disturbing.
the
And
muffled
it
voice,
makes you
it
realize
makes
that
it even
sometimes the
creepier.
scariest
Totally,
things
it
aren't
adds this
the ones
layer
we
of
can
like distance
predict,
distortion, like the
but the ones that
person's
just make
trapped,
no
struggling
sense
to
at
be
all.
That's a good
heard.
point.
And it makes you wonder,
Okay, you ready
are
for
they
story number
okay?
2?
Give
What
me.
happened?
All right, so this one is a little different.
Scary.
You know, it's
This
funny
woman
because that ties
actually
into something I
finds
notice about a lot of these
thunderstorms
stories.
comforting.
It's often
Really?
what's not
Interesting.
shown,
Yeah,
what's not
I know,
explained
right?
that really
But that
gets
all
under your
changed
skin.
one night
like that one
when
with
the
the hidden
power went out and she
passageway
found her
Ooh, yeah.
patio
leading
door
to a
wide
child's
open.
bedroom.
Leading right to
I
their
do not
bed.
like
One,
where
just
this
the
is
thought
going.
of someone
It gets
secretly
creepy.
being able
So
to
she's
get
just
into
browsing
a kid's
Reddit,
room, it's
enjoying the
terrifying.
storm
So
when everything
disturbing and
goes
just
dark.
spooky. A
Right.
violation
But
on
she's
so
not
many
too
levels,
phased
right?
by it.
The kid's
Then
space
she
is
gets
invaded,
thirsty,
but then the
goes to the
parents are left
kitchen,
feeling
And bam, she's hit with this
powerless. Like,
blast
what
of
do you
cold
do?
air.
Oh,
How
no.
could you let this
Yeah,
happen
the
in
patio
your
door
own
is
home?
wide open.
That
Yeah,
is
you
so
think your house is
unsettling.
safe,
I
and
know,
then you
it's
realize
like that feeling
oh,
of
maybe not.
something's not
Exactly.
right.
And what's
Totally.
even scarier
Like your
is that
safe
in
space
that
has been
story, this
violated.
intruder had been going in
and it makes you wonder,
undetected
right?
for a
Like,
long
who
time.
opened the door? Was it
Just
just
makes
the
you
wind,
wonder,
or
like,
is there
what
someone out there?
else
Ugh,
are we
I hate
missing?
that feeling.
Yeah,
What
it's
else
the
could be
worst.
happening without us
So she
realizing
closes
it?
and locks
Ugh,
the door.
I hate that
But she
thought.
can't
Me
shake
too,
this
it's
feeling of
creepy.
unease.
But it's that fear of the
Understandable.
unknown that
So she
really
starts
gets
doing
us.
all the
Yeah.
things
The
you
things
do
we
when you're
can't see
freaked
or
out,
control.
double-checking
It really
locks,
does.
It makes us question our
barricading her
perceptions.
bedroom door with
Makes you
a
look
chair.
twice at everything.
Right.
And you know what's
Trying to feel
interesting is
safe.
that sometimes
But
it's
she
not just
feels
about
this
what's
bump
hidden.
under her
It's
bed.
about
She leans
like,
over
reality
to look,
itself getting all messed up.
and
Yeah.
And that brings us to our
there,
next theme.
staring back
Playing
at
with
her,
perception.
is
Yeah.
this woman.
Oh
It's
my
like
God,
these stories
no.
are
I know,
messing
it's
with
so
our heads,
creepy.
making us doubt
She describes
what
her
we
as super
see
thin
and
with
hear,
bloodshot
like what's
eyes,
real and
yellow
what's not.
teeth, and
Yeah.
this like
that story with the girl in the bathroom stall.
Oh, stop. It's
She
too
thinks
much.
she's
And then
alone.
get this, she
But
starts
her friend
cackling.
swears
No
up and
way.
down that
Like
she
a
saw
witch.
someone
Exactly,
standing
like
right
something
behind
straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
At that point,
It's
she
like,
completely
who do you
loses it and
believe?
runs to her
What if your
grandparents'
senses
room.
are
Oh,
lying
thank goodness
to
for
you?
grandparents.
What
What
if
if
we
we
can't
can't
even
even trust our
grandpa
own
comes out with a
eyes?
gun?
Exactly.
Whoa.
Exactly.
Okay,
It's
things
like,
are getting
okay,
serious.
what
Yeah.
is
And they
real?
catch a
Can we
glimpse
believe
of this white
anything?
figure
It's like
running
reality
away
is
from
like
the bedroom window,
so
cracking,
creepy.
and that's terrifying.
Was it her?
Totally.
We
and
don't
that
know.
fear of
That's the
someone
unsettling
watching
part. Like,
you
who
without
was
you
this
knowing,
woman? Why was she there?
it gets
Maybe
even
the
worse than the
storm, like,
stalker
conjured
story.
her
The
or
one with the
something.
notes
I know,
on the door.
right?
Oh,
It's like the
that
storm
one.
It
itself
starts with
brought
creepy
something
compliments,
sinister
Yeah.
with
and then
Chills.
it escalates.
All right, ready
Full-on
for one more.
threats. And she
This
has
one
no
takes
idea
place
who's doing
in a
it.
That's
remote
psychological
mobile home
torture.
Totally.
up in the
And
mountains.
it erodes your sense of
A
safety, right?
romantic
Like you're always looking
weekend
over your
getaway
shoulder.
that turns into a
Absolutely.
total
And it's like
nightmare
your
thanks to a
home,
thunderstorm.
that should be
Oh, I
your
love a
safe
good cabin in
space.
the woods story.
Right.
But it's
You
not.
already know
Nope.
it's going to be good.
Okay, ready
So
for
this
another
young
one that
couple,
really messes
they're
with my
enjoying
head?
their time hiking,
Okay,
fishing,
so
taking in the scenery.
the one with the recurring
and then
nightmare
this
and then
huge
the
storm
unexplained
rolls in.
scratch.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So this person
and they're
keeps having
stuck
this
inside
vivid
watching
dream
the
about a
lightning when all
demonic
of a sudden
creature, and then
they
they
hear
wake
something
up
out in
with
the
a
woods.
real injury, like a voice
That's
calling
freaky.
out.
It's like the dream world is bleeding into
That's
reality.
creepy.
Right.
Exactly.
And remember, they're miles from anyone
dreams are
else,
more
so
than
hearing
just
another
dreams?
voice
What
is
if they're
already
like
weird.
portals to other
But in the middle of a
dimensions, or like
thunderstorm, that's
premonitions?
next level spooky.
That is
Sure.
a question
It's
that
like your
his haunted
fight or flight
human
instinct
instinct is
forever.
screaming at
Well,
you.
I don't know about
Totally.
you, but that story
So
made
the
me
boyfriend
think
looks out
twice
the
about
window
just brushing
and sees
off
this
any
figure
weird
standing
dream.
near the
me too.
trees.
Okay, but
He tries
let's
to
shift
convince
gears for a
himself
sec.
it's just
We've
someone
talked
looking
about
for
how
shelter
these
from the
stories
storm,
make us
but
question
deep
what we
down,
believe.
they both know
But
something's
what
not
about
right.
when,
Oh, yeah.
like,
I'd be
the
freaking out.
world
Me
itself
too.
seems to break
And
the
then
rules?
5
That's
minutes
where our next
later,
theme
they
comes
hear
in.
footsteps on the deck.
Unexplained,
Like
shuffling
phenomena.
around at
I
the
love
door.
these stories. Like
But
when
no
the laws
knock.
of nature
No
seem
knock.
to just
That's
bend
even
or break.
worse.
Right.
It's wild.
It's like whoever's
and
out there is
kinda
trying to
scary.
be
I know.
sneaky.
We're gonna
Ugh.
start this theme off
That is
strong with the
terrifying.
story
So
about
the
the
boyfriend
toy
peeks
car
out
that
the
came to
window
life.
and
Ooh,
sees the
yeah.
figure
Okay,
running
so it belonged
away.
to the
Should've
narrator's
gone,
brother.
right.
He thinks
Right.
so.
And it just
But
starts
then he
making
looks out
noises,
another window,
flashing lights, even
and
moving
there's
on
a
its
face
own.
That's a
staring back at
classic
him.
haunted
No
object
way.
story.
Yeah, this
But I
time
like
it's
that
not
not
just a
doll or
shadow, it's
painting,
someone
it's a
right outside their
childhood
window
toy.
looking
Makes it
in.
even creepier.
That
Right,
is a
and it's like
straight
the
up
family
nightmare.
tries to
Totally.
get rid of
It's
it,
like
but
that
it just
primal
keeps coming
fear of being watched.
Oh, I hate that.
You know?
Like it's attached to them,
So
so
what
like
do
it has
they
its
do?
own agenda.
Well, he
Right.
yells at them to go
It makes
away,
you
but
wonder,
they don't move.
can objects hold
God.
energy?
And then it gets even worse.
Or
There's a
is
bang
there
on
some
the bedroom
other
window,
explanation,
then another
some
bang
kind
on a
of, I don't
different
know,
window.
scientific thing we
It's
just don't
obvious now
understand
that there's
yet.
more than one
That's the
person out
question,
there.
isn't
Oh
it?
no,
And
they're
science doesn't
surrounded.
really have all the
Exactly.
answers.
They're
But
trapped
even if
in the
there
middle
is
of
a
this
logical
thunderstorm with
explanation,
God
our
knows
minds
who
go straight to
circling
the
their
supernatural,
home.
right?
Of course.
So the boyfriend,
we
he
want to
grabs his
believe.
dad's
We
rifle
want to make sense
from under the bed,
of the
thankfully it's loaded,
unexplainable.
It's like we're
and
programmed
gets ready to
see
confront whoever's
patterns,
outside.
even when there
Okay,
aren't
yeah,
any.
it's go time.
Right. It's
Okay,
like that
there's
moment
another
when
story
fear
in this
turns
theme
into
that I think you'll
action.
find
So
really
he throws
interesting.
open the
Can't wait.
front
It's the one
door
about the
rifle
neighbor
raised,
with the black
but
bag.
no one's there.
What?
I
The
know, right?
narrator
It's
gets
like they
fixated on their
vanished.
neighbor's late night trips.
But then
always
he
carrying
rushes
this heavy
outside,
bag,
scans the deck,
and they always
and
end
he
up at this
spots
abandoned
guy
gas
in
station.
bright clothing
Super
standing
creepy,
by
right?
the window
That's a
just watching
classic
them.
setup
Oh my
for
God,
a
the
horror
horror
movie,
movie,
isn't it?
wouldn't
I know, and the
Exactly, like they were
abandoned gas
enjoying the
station,
fear.
it
So
just
the
adds to
boyfriend
the
fires a
suspense.
warning shot
You know
into the
something's
air.
off,
Good
you
for
don't
him.
know what.
Right,
And it's
the
at
guy
night.
finally runs
It's
off
like
yelling,
everything is
"Oh,
heightened
shit!"
at night. Did they
Right.
see anyone
It
else?
makes you think,
Yeah,
is
he
the
heard other
neighbor
voices
involved in
distance.
something
So
criminal?
definitely more than one person.
Or
So
is
creepy.
there
It's
a
like the storm was on their
supernatural
side or something.
explanation?
I know, it's
Both are
wild.
scary.
So the next
But-
day, they pack up
Yeah,
and
I
get
think
out of
the
there.
criminal thing
They're
might be
shaken,
worse.
but
I know,
thankfully
right?
unharmed.
At least with the
They don't find any
supernatural,
signs
it's
of
like,
damage,
okay,
but the
it's
whole
beyond our
experience
control,
leaves
but
them
a
pretty
person.
traumatized.
That's
I bet.
terrifying.
Totally. be.
Right.
And it's interesting.
I mean,
right? These
imagine
last
thinking
two
you're
stories,
safe in this
they
secluded
both
getaway, and
play
then
on that
suddenly you're
fear
trapped with a bunch of
the
strangers during a
unexpected
thunderstorm.
happening in like the most normal.
So we've heard
places.
three.
Ooh, I see what you mean. The
pretty
familiar
terrifying
becoming
stories.
unfamiliar.
Exactly.
What makes
It's
them
like
so compelling?
Both stories
What
are
do they have
peeling
in
back
common?
those
Let's
layers
unpack
of our
that a bit.
everyday
Feels good to me.
lives.
I
and
think it's like
revealing
all
the
three
hidden
stories
anxieties, like the
play
stuff
on
we try
that
to ignore.
fear of the unknown.
Like maybe we're not
you know?
as safe as we think
Like
we are.
who's there?
I think we're
or
onto something.
Mm.
What was that
But
noise?
you know what?
And
There's
then the
another
storm makes
layer
it
to
like
these stories we
100
haven't
times
even
worse.
talked about yet.
Oh, for
the
sure.
theme of
And it's not
vulnerable
just the
moments.
darkness or
Ooh,
being
yeah.
isolated.
It's like all
Though
of
those
these
are huge
scary things
factors.
happen when people are at their
Thunderstorms
most vulnerable.
really
It's
engage
like
our
vulnerability
senses
is
in
a
way that
magnet
almost
for the
nothing
weird and
else
unsettling.
does.
Think about it.
You know,
The woman
Like
alone by the
lightning,
pond, the
it makes
person
you
hearing that
super
muffled
aware
voice at
of
night.
everything around
The
you.
child.
It's
with
like
the
all
secret
your senses
passageway.
are on high alert,
They're all
which is probably a good
isolated
thing if there's
or
actually
unaware
danger.
of the danger.
But it
We're
also
struggling
means
with
we're
something
more likely to
internally,
think there's
right?
danger, even if
Like
there
their
isn't.
own issues.
Exactly. That's why like every
Exactly.
horror
And that
movie uses
connection
thunderstorms.
between
it's like instant
vulnerability
suspense.
and
You're just waiting for
fear,
something
it's
to jump
so
out.
clear
It's like
in
the
the
storm
story
is
about
getting
the
you ready
man
to be
who was
scared.
drugged. Remember,
So your
he's taken
imagination goes
advantage of,
crazy.
robbed, even
And
forced
speaking
to
of
like
imagination,
the intruders in
participate
these
in
stories
this
are
criminal
so
activity.
creepy.
Ugh, that
A
one was
delusional
rough.
guy who thinks
It's not
the house
just
is
scary.
his.
It's just sad.
A woman hiding under
Totally.
the bed.
And it highlights how
And a group of
a
people
single
lurking around
event
a cabin.
like that
And the
can just
creepiest part
totally
is
shatter
we
your
never
sense of
find out why
security
they're
and
doing
safety.
it. I can't even imagine.
And
you
what's
know?
crazy
Like
is
were
that
they just
even though that
lost because of
story
the
is about a
storm,
real
or was it something more
experience,
sinister?
it still
Right.
has that
Like,
element John
of the
McCarty in that
unexplained.
first
We never
story.
find out who the
Was
criminals
he really
were,
just
what they were
confused,
really
or was there
after.
something
It's
more
true.
going on?
And
And
it
what
makes
about the
you
woman
think,
under the
is
bed?
there
Maybe she
more to
just
the
needed
story?
shelter,
Is there
or was
something
it
we're not
something
seeing?
supernatural?
Yeah.
See, that's what
It's
makes
like
these
there's this
stories stick
shadow
with you.
hanging over
It's like
the
a puzzle
whole
you
thing,
can't
this
solve.
feeling that something's
And
not
that
quite
feeling
right,
of
not
unease
quite
just
human,
stays with you.
know?
It's
Yeah, I
like the
totally get
storm
that.
is this
It's like, even in
catalyst
the
for all
real
the
world,
weird
there's
and
still
unsettling
mysteries,
stuff. It's
things
like
we
the
can't
line
explain.
between
And
what's
that's what
real and
makes
what
it
you're
also
afraid of just
unsettling, right?
disappeared.
Like,
And there's that
We want to
folklore
believe we have
element
control,
too.
but maybe
Especially
we
with
don't.
the
Maybe
woman
there are
under the
forces at
bed,
work that we
the way
just
she
don't
looks, the
understand.
cackling,
I think
running
we need
away.
a minute to
It's like those
process all
classic
that.
witch stories, the ones about storms and stuff.
you know what,
Okay,
you're right.
so
It's like
we've been talking
those
about
stories
feeling
tap
vulnerable
into some
and
deep
that lack of
fear that's
control.
been around forever.
And that really hit
It
home
makes
with
you
me
wonder,
in
are they
another
just
story
stories,
about
or
a
do
college guy
storms really
who got
attract like
catfished.
supernatural
Oh man,
stuff?
yeah.
It's hard
That
to
one
say.
was scary because it could happen to any
But
of
I
us,
think
right?
those
I know,
stories,
and it's like
whether
such a
they're true or
modern
not,
horror story. You think you're
show
meeting
us how
someone
our
from
minds
Tinder for a
work.
date, and then boom, it's a trap.
They show
Bunch
how
of
our
criminals.
beliefs and
The scariest
fears,
part
even
is
our
that they
evolution
knew so
affect
much
what we
about
see
him.
and believe.
His
So you're
personal
saying that our
details,
fear
where
of
he
storms
lived.
and all the stuff
It's like
we
they were
connect with
watching
them
him.
is like
It's so
built into
true, and it
us.
really
Well, there's
shows how
definitely some evidence
technology
for
can
that.
be used
Think
against
about it.
us. Like,
For our
we
ancestors,
leave these
thunderstorms
digital
were a huge
footprints
threat.
everywhere we
They could
go.
cause floods,
We think we're being
fires,
careful,
even attract predators,
but maybe
Yeah.
not careful
So it makes
enough.
sense that we
And the
evolved
stakes were
to be
so
afraid
high
of
in
them.
that story.
That's
They
super interesting. So
forced
it's
him
not
to
just
give up
about
his
lightning
phone,
or
his
trees
wallet,
falling
even
on
try to
you.
get
It's
him
like
to
this
sell
deeper
drugs. It's
anxiety
terrifying.
that
It
storms
is.
create.
It is.
Exactly,
It makes you
and that
think why
anxiety
he
comes
comes
out
out in different ways.
Like what you
For
post
some people,
online,
it's just
who
a
you
general
talk
feeling
to.
of unease.
You know, on the
like
one hand, it's a
something
very
bad's
real
gonna happen.
danger, but on
For
the
others,
other
it
hand,
triggers
it's like
phobias,
it almost
being
has this
afraid of loud
mythical
noises or
quality
closed
to it.
spaces.
Ooh.
So, okay, we've talked about
do you
these
mean?
creepy stories.
It's like a modern day
But
cautionary
what does it
tale,
all
right?
mean
Like,
to people
be
listening? Why
careful
should
who
they
you trust
care about
online. Be
thunderstorm
careful
stories?
where
Is
you
it just
go
for
in the
fun,
digital
or is there
world,
something more to
because
it?
there are
Well, I think
monsters
there's
lurking
definitely
in the
more to it.
shadows.
Yeah, I
On one
totally
level,
get that.
yeah, they're
Like,
entertaining.
the
They give
internet
you a
has
thrill,
become
you
this
get to
kind of
escape for a
folklore
bit.
landscape with its
But on
own
a deeper
creatures and
level, they
dangers.
show us how the
Yes.
human mind
And in this
works.
story,
They show
the
us how we
catfish
react
becomes the
under
monster,
stress,
right?
how the
Preying
things
on the
around
guy's
us and what we
innocence and his
believe change
desire
how
to
we see
connect with
things.
someone. And they
Okay, but
remind us
speaking of
that
monsters,
fear,
I have to
as
bring
much
up
as we
another
don't
story.
like it,
Which
is
one?
actually
The one about the
important.
woman who kept
Right.
finding
Fear
notes
keeps
on
us
her
alive.
door.
It helps
It's a
us see
classic
danger
stalker
and avoid
scenario.
it.
But what
And even
makes
though
this
the
one so
dangers we face
disturbing
today
is
are
that the
different from what our
stalker knows her
ancestors faced.
name.
I remember
Our
that.
reactions are pretty much
So
the same.
creepy, and the
So in a
threats
way,
escalate.
these
It
stories
goes
are like
from
looking
weird
into our
compliments
past.
to like,
They show
I
us
know
that
where
even
you
with all our
live.
technology,
Yeah,
we still
it's
have those
personalized
basic
terror,
instincts
and
inside of us.
it really plays
those
on that
instincts,
fear of the
even if they don't
unknown,
make
that
sense,
feeling of being
sometimes can help us
watched
deal
and
with
not
all the
knowing who's
uncertainty in
doing it.
life.
It
It's like they're
totally
saying, hey,
violates your
pay
sense of privacy
attention.
and safety.
Your
And the
gut is
story
trying to
doesn't give
tell
us
you
any
something.
answers. The
Don't
stalker
ignore that
disappears,
feeling of
the police
unease,
can't
even if
find
you
them.
can't
So
explain it.
frustrating.
Yeah.
You want to know who it
And even
is,
though you
why
shouldn't
they're
let fear
doing it.
control you,
I know. It's like the
it's good
stalker
to
becomes
listen to
this
those
phantom
feelings and
just
try to figure out
haunting
why
her
you're having them.
thoughts.
So it's not
And that
about
feeling
being
of
afraid
being
of the storm
watched,
itself,
pursued by
but
something we don't
understanding how it
understand.
can make our
It's a
fears and
recurring theme,
anxieties
right?
worse.
Yeah, it is, isn't
Right.
it? I guess it's a
And when you
primal
understand
fear.
that you can
Fear
deal
being
with
hunted,
stress better,
of being stalked
not
by
just in
something in the
storms,
darkness.
but
And it
anytime
also
you
makes
feel
us think about
threatened or
how
unsure.
vulnerable we are, how
So
much
we've talked about
control
how
we really have
thunderstorms
over our
affect
lives.
us.
The fear of
Okay,
the
are you
unknown
ready for
being
one that
isolated and all
really
those
messed with
creepy
my
things
head?
that happen when it storms.
Bring it
We've
on.
talked about how
I'm
the
feeling
natural and
brave.
supernatural are
Okay,
connected.
so
and
remember
how
the
those
story
stories
about the
make us think
recurring
about our deepest
nightmare and
fears.
the unexplained
But there's one last
scratch?
thing I want to
Yeah.
leave you with.
Okay,
What if our
I'm
dreams
ready.
are more than
Spill
just
it.
dreams, right?
Exactly.
last thought?
So
Well,
in
we've
this
been talking about
story,
other
the person
people's
keeps having
experiences,
this
but what about you?
super
Have you ever
vivid
felt
dream
that, like,
about this like
creepy feeling
demonic
during a
creature,
thunderstorm,
and
like someone's
then
watching
they
you?
wake up and
Or the
there's a
hairs on
real
the back of your
injury.
neck
It's like the
stand
dream
up.
world is
You know,
seeping
now
into
that you mention
reality.
it, I and it makes you totally question, like,
have,
where did the
especially
injury
when I
come
was a
from? Was
kid.
it the dream? Did something happen while
There's
they were
something
sleeping?
about the
I don't
wind
even
and
wanna
the
think
rain
about
that
it.
makes your
I
imagination
know. It's
run
like a
wild.
classic horror movie trope.
I used to think there
the
were
monster
monsters
under
in
the
the
bed,
shadows
the
waiting
creature
to grab
lurking
me
in
if
the
I got out of
shadows.
bed.
Yeah.
But what
And
really
even
gets
though
me
those
is that we
childhood
never
fears seem
find
kinda
out what
silly,
caused the scratch.
now
It's
they
left
show
up
us
to our
something
imagination.
important about
Yeah, it's
how
that
we deal with the
uncertainty that really
unknown.
creeps you out.
It makes you
Those
wonder,
little
what if our
moments of
dreams are
unease,
more than just
that feeling of
dreams?
being super
What if
aware
they're
of
connected to
everything.
something
It
bigger,
could be those old
something
surviving
darker?
instincts
Now
we're
you're
talking
really
about.
freaking me
So
out.
you're saying we
But,
shouldn't just
you know,
ignore
even though
those
this story
feelings,
is
even if
super
they seem
supernatural,
childish.
it also plays on
right.
that theme of
Our
vulnerability,
intuition,
right?
those gut feelings,
person
they
is
usually tell us
asleep,
something important,
totally defenseless,
even if we don't know
and something
why.
happens. And
Totally.
those
It's
feelings
like
might be
our
even
subconscious
stronger during
fears
a
can manifest in
thunderstorm
really
when we're already
terrifying
on
ways.
edge.
So
Okay,
the
so
next
we've
time I
got
get that
unseen
creepy feeling during a
intruders,
storm,
stalkers,
Instead of trying to forget
nightmares.
about it,
What
I
else
should maybe
could
try to figure out
possibly be
what's
lurking
causing
in
it.
these stories?
Exactly.
Well, how about we
It's
switch
about
gears a
understanding
bit
how you
and
feel,
explore
those little
something
changes,
even more
and
unsettling?
how you see
Go
and
for it.
feel
Let's talk
things
about
that
the
happen
stories
during
that
a
involve
thunderstorm.
unexplained
You
phenomena.
might be surprised
things
by
that
what you
defy
concern.
logic.
It's like all those
and
ghost
reason.
stories and
Okay,
urban legends.
I am
we
ready to
tell.
have my mind
They're
blown.
not just for scaring
All right,
us.
let's start with
They're
a
teaching us to pay
classic, the
attention, to be
haunted toy
careful, and to
car.
trust our
You know, the one that
instincts.
belonged
That's
to
a
the
great
narrator's
point.
brother
Those
and
stories,
suddenly starts
even the
moving on its
crazy
own.
ones,
Oh,
tell us
yeah.
something
That
real
one was
about how we
wild. I mean,
connect with
a
nature
haunted
and the
house, a haunted
unknown.
doll, that's
It's a
one
good
thing.
reminder
But a
that
toy
even with all
car,
our
It's
technology,
unexpected,
we still
right?
have
And I
those
think
old
that's what makes it
fears,
so
those
creepy.
instincts that
and it
helped our
belonged to the narrator's
ancestors
brother,
survive.
so there's that
And
personal
maybe if we
connection
listen to
too.
those instincts, pay attention
And
to
the
those
family
little
tries
signs,
to
we
get
can
rid
deal
of
with all
it,
the
but it just
uncertainty
keeps
in
coming
life a little
back.
better.
Like it's attached to
said.
them. Like it
So
has
the
a
next time you're in a
purpose.
thunderstorm, take a second to
So
just
creepy.
stop
I
and
know, it's
listen
like
to
a
the sounds
classic
around
horror
you.
movie trope, the cursed
Feel the
object
energy
that
of the
can't be
storm.
destroyed.
And most
But it
importantly,
also makes you
listen to
think,
that
like,
voice
what if
inside
objects really can
you. You
hold
never know
energy?
what you might
What if there are
discover.
things
That's a
happening
really
around
cool
us
thought
that
to
we
end
just
on.
don't have the
I
ability
think I'm
to
going to look at
understand?
thunderstorms in
Right.
a whole new
Science
way.
can't explain
Thanks for
everything.
taking us on
So
this
true.
deep dive. It's been
But you know,
amazing.
there's
It's
another
always fun to
story
explore what
in
it
this
means to be
theme
human.
that takes that
Especially when
idea
we
of
can
the
learn from a good
unexplained to a
thunderstorm.
whole
And to
new
everyone
level.
Oh, lay it on me.
Thanks
I'm
for
on the edge
joining
of my
us on this
seat.
Okay,
creepy
remember the
journey into
story
world of
about the neighbor with the
thunderstorms?
black bag?
Remember, stay curious.
The one
stay
where the
safe,
narrator gets
and don't forget
obsessed
your
with their
flashlights.
neighbor's
Until
late
next
night
time,
trips.
this is the deep dive.
Always
signing off.
carry